Well, today's topic we are going to start is modules. So we are going to discuss and we are going to type the code for something called as modules. And these modules are nothing but the feature which is provided by NodeJS. How do you create modules? What is the use of modules? Why you require modules? That we will see in the NodeJS. Okay, so when you talk about NodeJS, remember that you are talking about JavaScript and you are talking about file, you are talking about separate files. So when you talk about JavaScript, right, let me go to, let's create new folder. Let's create new folder and I can say day 2. Okay, in this day 2 I can create app.js is a main file. I can create app.js one file, and inside that app.js I'm going to type the code. Now see, console.log window. If you do this thing, I'm inside Node.js, remember that. And let me try to run the project. Here we can say node app.js, right? Can you see? Throw error. Okay, cd day 2 node app.js. Can you see? Window is undefined. Window is what? Undefined. Let me go to the browser. Just copy this and let me open the console and just try to do. Can you see? In the browser you get some output for console.log window. You get some output for console.log window. Okay, another thing, okay, so when you write this console.log window, right, you get a window object. Remember that in the browser, if you have or if you require to manage the state of particular JavaScript files, right, if you require to manage, just moment, okay, so if you require to manage the state across the files, right, or if you require to manage the scope, if you are going to make the scope in a web JavaScript, we were using the window. But remember that your Node.js doesn't provide you that mechanism. Node.js is providing you something called as modules. Okay, now sorry, can you see you got some long module object, and into this module object you will find some key value. It's an object, right? But remember that this object is not a global scope in the Node.js. This object is giving you what you can say a facility to maintain what you can say scope related things, right? So module is that part. Whenever you write two files in a Node.js, app.js, my.js, whenever you write two files, app.js, my.js, but my first question is that why you will create two separate files? It is not good practice to write everything inside. It is not a good practice to write everything inside one JavaScript file. And for maintainability, what you do, you divide your project into different files. Then if you divide the project into different files, right, how they will communicate with each other, how they will share the data with each other. Now if they want to share the data with each other, they need to export and import. There should be some facility. One file is exporting some data and another file is importing some data. Now remember that if I have this variable OS is Android, variable OS is Android, and module dot exports, can you see under the module there is a exports key. You just need to use that. Exports is equals to OS. Module dot export is equals to OS. Remember that whatever variables you write in this file in in JavaScript Node.js, whatever variables, whatever functions you write inside this file, right, they are private to this file. They cannot be accessed outside, unlike the JavaScript in the browser. So if you have two JS files, and one JS file would be having one variable called as OS, and another JS file would be having variable called as OS. So whatever file you have imported at the last, right, that will override the earlier OS variable, and that's why we were using the window.os and something like that, right? If you want to make your variable or if your function accessible at the global level, we were using that thing, right? That was the facility of the web browser. Now let's forget about the web browser and just talk about what you can say this Node.js. Concern is that this OS variable, right, I'll show you that. Let me comment it and let's go inside, create one more file, say car.js. Make sure it would be inside this folder. Now you cannot use OS variable over here, console.log OS, okay? And if you try to run node car.js, can you see OS is undefined? OS is what? Undefined. This variable is undefined, means that this variable is a private to this file. This variable cannot go outside of this file. There is no way of getting this variable outside of the file. if you want to do that, right, and if you're in a Node.js, you need to follow this strategy. Module.exports is equals to this OS variable. Okay, now if you want to import it, remember that you need to use something called as var OS is equals to require / app.js. Okay, you don't need to add JS over here, just var OS and something like that. See now, can you see now you get OS as Android. So whatever has been exported from this file, remember that exports is a JavaScript object. Currently it has exported only one variable, but you can export separate JavaScript object also. Right now module.exports has exported only one variable, and that variable OS we have got in one var and this OS. This is how this file will give you the OS variable require. Last time we have studied what do you mean by require. This is a require.js, and internally Node uses the common.js and it imports the module in that way internally. Fine. So var OS is equals to require name of the file dot represents current directory. So you are saying that in a current directory there is a app.js file. In a current directory there is a app.js file, right, and that is exporting a module. And then you need to import it by means of require over here. Remember that this is really important concept if you learn the modules and if you learn modules and other things. Okay, now what I want to do, right, let's try to do some more things. See, here we have a function calc OS speed. This is my one of the function, and that function console.log speed is okay. Now how do you pass this function as well as this variable to the export? Well, you can pass the object, or you can do something like this also, module.exports dot. You can do this like this also, module.export dot OS is equals to that OS, and module.exports.fn. well, this name can be absolutely anything, and here you can say calc OS speed. Okay, now if you go here in a car.js, your OS, now see what OS would be getting printed. Just run the project. Can you see OS is an object now, Android, and OS is having one key called as this variable. Just a moment. Fine.
No problem.
So we were at modules, right? If you see, in this case what it is returning? It is returning one object. What we did from the app.js, you have said module.exports OS variable. To the OS variable there is a value this, module.exports fn, there is a value this. So you can do like this also. Why we are doing? Remember that App.js has private state. App.js, whatever OS this function, that is private to this app.js. You cannot send it to another function. You cannot send it to another function. Now, if you want to make your application more and more maintainable, you need to work on the architecture. Remember that what I am saying. If you want to make your project more and more maintainable, you need to worry about the architecture, how many files you create, right, the way you structure the files, and then that files that files are sharing the data. And that's why modules are really important. Let's try to put some architecture over here. Now app.js, car.js we would be having. Then here I would be creating engine.js. That would be in a day 2 itself, engine.js. So what we can do, is this app.js is main class, right? So instead of, let me remove all these things, let me clean up everything. Okay, now car.js, let's remove this also and remove this also. Okay, so car would be having functions related to the car. Here we can say here we can say speed up function, speed up. Then here we can say function apply brakes, another function I would be having. Getting that thing? Now here we can say I would be requiring object of engine. So here is a engine object. Let's create where engine is equals to, engine would be having some RPM kind of thing. We can say 20. Then engine would be having torque. We can say 1, like that. Okay, now let's export this engine object. Module dot exports dot engine is equals to this engine. Okay, so there would be one engine key, and into that engine key, engine object you are exporting. In a car you are requiring, remember that this car is dependent on the engine object. Car is dependent on the engine. So if you look at the real-time car, there would be separate engine and there would be separate car and other parts. So engine would be placed in the car separately. Same thing we are doing. This car has speed up functionality, applying brake functionality, then function turn on lights, right, this, then function turn off lights, something like that. And there are many other functionalities which are having with the car, but the core part is engine. So where engine is equals to, you can say, or turn on, just remove the lights, turn on and turn off, car turn on and car turn off. Okay, where engine is equals to require in the current directory there is an engine. Remember that you don't need to write JS over here. You just need to say from which file your module is getting exported, from which file your module is getting exported, that you need to put here from which file your module is getting exported. So here you are saying from the engine file your module is getting exported. Go to the engine file. Yeah, there is a module.export.engine, right? This name can be absolutely anything. You don't need to worry about this name, but have a little bit, what you can say, whenever we provide variable names, we need to have some common sense, right? That's why I am putting the variables in this way. So here you can have car.js. Car is dependent on the engine. Now see, engine dot, there is a one rpm. You just need to say rpm is equals to or plus equals to 1. What is plus equals to 1? rpm is equals to rpm plus 1, correct? What is plus equals to 1? It is like this. Anyone is having any queries, please ask me immediately. So I'm just increasing the speed. Applying brakes means we are lowering the rpms, right? Turn on and turn off, and likewise we can write the code, right? So for that we can say state presently off, right? So here we can say engine dot state on and engine dot state off, engine dot state on, engine dot state off. Just try to run the project.
Sir, I have one question.
Yes, please.
So when we are defining, when we are exporting modules,
Correct.
we need to export in that particular file only.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here, this thing.
Okay. Yes, sir. And
So
when importing, we need to import in the required file.
required file. See this. Engine is getting exported from engine.js. I'm repeating.
Okay.
Here engine or here, so this name can be anything. Don't get confused, right? Don't get confused that this should be same as this. No, absolutely not necessary. This is the key, and JavaScript object says that key can be anything. Value is literally important. Key can be anything. So what is
Okay.
happening here? What is happening here? Engine is a variable which is present inside engine.js, okay? And you think that as per your architecture, this engine object can be placed, or this engine object is required out of this file, right? So this is a core part of my project, and this engine object is required out of this file, and that's why you have taken this approach that let us export the engine out of this file. And Node.js says that if you want to export something from one file to another file, if you want to export something from one file to another file, right? Node.js says that if you want to export from one file to another file, please use module variable. Please use what? Module variable that I have given you, right? And that comes with the node environment, that internally comes with the node environment. Okay, module.export.engine is equals to engine, and here you have required this thing. Okay, now what we need to do, car is our main abstraction utility. Means what? This is the engine and this is a car. This is the engine, this is a car. Okay.
So the module export we need to define after the function that we need to
Yeah, at the last line generally, because you
add the
do,
last line.
yeah,
Hmm.
well, you can write at the beginning also, no problem. But generally, we perform our logic, we perform our variables, we write our functions over here. And at the last, we decide that which to export and which not to export, right? So if you have another variable, say where, you can say machine, right? and this object I don't want to export, so I will not put it inside this export. Getting that? Even some people write like this also. Some people module dot exports dot straight away here only they write straight away like this only, module dot exports dot engine, straight away they write like this only. You will find many configurations has been written like this, right? So if you want to export only one thing or only one object, you can straight away write here like this. There are many variations, but I will ask you to follow the best practices that has been written inside documentation and other guides. So define the variable. See, it's a JavaScript. You have no restriction. Whatever you want to do, you can do that easily. Okay? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So generally, that's why we write at the end. Module.exports.engine is engine. Then where engine require dot engine, and here you have used the engine object. Okay. Now here we can write the state. Here we can write the function. Okay. So we can write console.log everywhere now. Console.log engine dot, or straight away complete engine. Here also I can write complete engine. Here also I can write complete engine. Okay. So engine.rpm, engine.rpm, and like this, turn on and turn on. Okay. Now let me go to the app.js. So here I can say where car is equals to require which file, dot is a current directory, and which car, you need to get the data from the car, and you can say car dot speed up apply breaks, or here we can say car dot turn on. Okay, now let's try to run the project. Node app.js. Okay, from the car we haven't exported anything. Can you see? And that is the error. Error is saying same thing, that I don't know what is a turn on, right? I don't know what is a turn on, because you haven't exported anything from the car. Can you see that? Now we need to export from the car. Export, sorry, module dot
Exports.
export dot, now you can say util functions, right? Util functions, and inside that util functions I am just going to, this is the object, right? This is the object. Now I can say or instead of that, straight away you can do exports dot, I'll just keep the name as same, speed up is equals to reference of the speed up, I can pass. Then module dot exports dot apply breaks. Let's get this apply breaks. Now if you do like this, remember that if you do like this, you need to, okay, just see now what I mean to say. I'll show you by means of code only. Apply breaks, let's get the apply breaks here. Then module dot exports turn on, turn on, then module dot exports. Now see, how do you write a require statement? Can you tell me how to write a require statement here. So what will happen exactly? Because you have 4 exports over here, getting that? You have 4 exports over here. The moment you try to, what this car would be coming, can anyone guess what this car would be having? Because you have exported 4 things from the car.js, you have exported 4 things from car.js. What would be the state of this car object over here? What would be the state of this car object? So what it would be having, can anyone tell me? It is easy actually.
Maybe object with 4 functions.
One object with 4 functions?
Yep.
Okay. That would be the object with 4 functions. And see what is the output. See, there is an object with keys as speed up, apply break, turn on, turn off, and then there are having 4 functions. Means if you want to turn on car dot turn on. So this is really important, right? When you work on the projects, and if you see export like this, you don't need to get confused what exactly it will export. Remember that exports is a one object. Exports, this is the foundations of the JavaScript, right? What are the foundations of JavaScript? If you have var and cr is equals to this. Remember that this is an empty JavaScript object, and then you do cr dot fn is equals to, or fn1 is equals to this function I can write, and cr dot fn2. This is what we are doing, right? Module dot exports dot fn1 is equals to this function. This is fn2 is equals to this function. fn1 is equals to this function. fn2 is equals to this function. And now if you print console.log fn object, and the output would be, sorry, cr object, not fn object, out cr object. Let me clear it. See, fn1 and fn2, same output you got over here, right? Same output you got in the case of module.export, and here also you got the same output, fn and the functions. So see what is happening here, what exactly happening over here. Thing is that var cr, right? Cr is a empty object you have assigned in the beginning, and that's what your module object is. Module object is also empty object. Let me show you by console.log and module, and what? Module. Console.log module. Okay, console.log module. I'll print this object and see what happens if I print this. Can you see? Module object would be having, export is an empty object. Can you see here? Export is assigned to what? Empty. Same thing we have done. Cr is assigned to what? Empty. And now you are saying that cr.fn1, there is nothing called as fn1 inside cr till this line. But the moment you say cr.fn1, you are assigning one function. Here you are saying cr.fn2, this another function. Getting that? cr.fn1, cr.fn2. I'll write it in one line just for your understanding purpose. And then you print the cr. Same thing you are doing here. Module.export speed up is speed up function. Module.export means there is an empty object of export, into that you added a key speed up. There is empty object export, you added a key apply brakes. Empty object export, you added a key turn on and turn off, and you are assigning the references. Likewise this is the foundations of the JavaScript. What JavaScript says is this thing. Okay, so we have discussed one concept of JavaScript object, how do you add the functions and the variables? You can add variable also. Cr dot cost is equals to 1 2 3 4. See, the key is not available over here, but you have added it here, right? Then you have added it fn1, then you have added fn2 and its values. This is how JavaScript object works, and same concept has been used at the time of module.export. If you have any query, please ask me. Well, before moving ahead, I would like to push this much code so you can see on your machine. Here we can say day 2, right? Modules. I am pushing the code. Yeah, I have pushed the code. Please check the code in a 2 to 3 minutes. We will start again. I am muting myself for 5 minutes. So we have seen what are the modules, what exactly modules work. Now there are some built-in modules that we will talk in a moment, right? But before that, I would like to write some code related to JavaScript, right? Now till this code I have used a var, if you see. I have used the functions, if you see. I have used the functions in this way, right? Now here I will create one file, and here you can say js shorts1.js, js shorts, right? So when I say js shorts, right, when I say js shorts, remember that it is a short of the js. What is the short of the js? In between of your code we will discuss suddenly JavaScript concept, right, which will give you some food for your brain, right? That is js short. When I say js short, it is a random concept of JavaScript that we are going to discuss in between, which will help you in the interviews, which will help you in developing your code, which will help you in typing a JavaScript code in some fancy fashion like that. So JS short we will discuss. In this JS short we are going to cover the concept of what you can say ES6, few features of, we will cover few features of ES6. Okay, remember that we are going to cover few features of ES6, and hence from now, just for your understanding, I have used vars over here, because on the GitHub and or another guides you are going to see var, right? But whenever ES6 has appeared in the market, you can replace this vars with the let and consts if required. Well, you can replace this vars as it is by the let, right? But whenever you see the documentation on the GitHub, or whenever you see some other videos on the YouTube, you should get to know what do you mean by var, and you should be familiar with the var. That's why I haven't used from the beginning. Now I will introduce that concept, and hence from now I will use let or const. Remember that few features of ES6 we are going to cover. And first concept is var num is equals to 10. I can say, see, I am removing the semicolon. Your semicolon is not required. That is again feature of ES6. Remember that. Then I will write if true var num is equals to 20, right? Now console dot log num, tell me the answer. What would be the answer in the JavaScript? What
It's 20.
It's 20. How many of you think it's 20? How many of you think it's 20? Well, I'll write one function till then. Function let and var. Inside that I will write this much code. Okay, I'll write this much code inside that. So we can have a different functions which are defining these concepts. Okay, answer is 20 correct. Let's see the output. Node JS short 1.js. Can you see answer is what? 20. But if you see, or if you follow the object oriented principles, scoping is really important, right? Your scoping is really important. The scopes are important in that way where you want to what you can say, have minimum errors, right? Now see, technically this variable should be scoped inside this function. This variable should be scoped inside this function, right? Now if I have this and let's comment it out, what would be the output? Can you tell me? Undefined or 20? See now, num is undefined. Means num is what? Undefined. Means you have function level scope, right? Num is not accessible outside the variable, outside your function if you have functions, right? But this scoping or if loop inside the function is not accepting or is not worrying about any scoping. There is no scope inside the function, right? Inside the function there is no scope. This where this num is going to be overwrite value of this num, because there is no scoping. Actually expected value here is, you can say 10, because this num should be within inside this bracket. This num should be within this bracket, right? So scope of this num should be inside this bracket only, inside if loop. That should be inside the if loop, right? But that is not happening. Num is getting overwritten. And how this has been solved? By means of let. Now just apply let everywhere and see, this num is pointing to this num and expected answer would be 10 now. As expected you will get the answer. Can you see now it is 10. The moment you introduce the let, your answer becomes what? Your answer changed from value of this num, it is pointing to this value. Getting that? Now you can change the value of num over here. Num is equals to 50. That is okay. You can change the value like this. Now if you want to work with the constants, right? Immutable variables, you can use what? Const. So now let's try to run the project. Can you see num 50? Assignment to the constant variable. Type error, assignment to the constant variable. You cannot do that. So you need to comment it out. Right? Now let's try to run the project. See, now answer is 10. It is referring to this const. So const and the let are the features of ES6. Remember that. Now one thing you can do, replace vars with the lets 100%, right? If this variable value is going to be, if the variable value is going to be changed, if the variable value is going to be changed, it should be let. If the variable value is going to be constant, it should be what? Const. So replace your wheres with the const or the let as per your business requirement. So this is the one thing. Okay, we have discussed let and where. Any question on the let and where? Let, where, const. So just follow the camel casing. V should be capital, C should be capital. Okay, let where, I'll share that link also. Let where const. This is one function I have written. Any question on this part? If you have any question, please do ask me.
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now another thing, there is a improvement in the strings also, right? Strings improvement is there, and what's that improvement is, I'll show you. So const paragraph is equals to, below the escape there is a tilde button, just type that, can you see? And inside that you can line multi-line strings also, kind of interpolation. Here I can say hi, I am. Here I can say again const OS is equals to Android. Well, here also if you want to that, you can straight away replace all the single quotes with the backticks. Hi, I am which OS? Can you see? Here I am writing evaluation operator. Hi, I am Android OS, right? Even you can write like this, born on which date? Born on new date. Born on what? New date. See, you have written multi-line strings. If you can see here, multi-line string, this was not possible earlier. And now if I say console.log paragraph, right, console.log para, you will get the output in some different way. I'll comment this, I'll remove this function, and I call strings like this. Let's clear it. This is ES6 applicable. Can you see? Hi, I am Android OS, born on whatever. I have given today's date and time, that's why it has printing like this. Any query? Backticks, remember that. Earlier we were using const nm is equals to either double quotes or single quotes, right? Single or double quotes. Earlier we were using either single quotes or the double quotes. Getting that? Getting that? Either
Yes, sir.
single quote or double quotes. So first thing what you will do, inside your project wherever you have written where, either replace it with the let or replace it with what? Const. Now hence from now, if you want to perform some calculations in a string, you will take a benefit of interpolation, right? You will take a benefit of what? Interpolation, like this. So this is really important that you need to know. Okay, so this is what you can say, some features of the ES6. One more feature is, I'll show you, const lambda. Lambda functions has been introduced in the JavaScript. Lambda functions have been introduced in JavaScript. right? So we were earlier writing function like this, correct? We were earlier writing function like this. So what we were creating, this is a function, anonymous function we were assigning to the variable lambda or any variable. Now ES6 says that if you want to, instead of writing this function keyword, you can use new syntax like this, right? If it is an inline function, you can just write console.log. Here you can say lambda, or in the terms of typical JavaScript, we call it as fat arrow. Remember that this is a function only. This is a function only. Just representation is different. This is a function only. Just representation is different. And there is a one more concept which is related to this that we will discuss later on. Now see, lambda. Writing a lambda comes with the two benefits. It's a handy a little bit, right? In the typical JavaScript world, we call it as fat arrow. Because of this, we call it as fat arrow. But the concept is taken from mathematics. In the mathematics, there are the lambda representations. Functions can be written in this way, right? Now there are variations. Const, you can say EMI principal, EMI amount I want to calculate. So whatever num1 or some more understandable, some num1. See, in this way you will pass variables num1, num2, and if you want to pass the results num1 plus num2, right? And you can call this, let me remove this string function now, let me call it lambda is a function, remember that, and sum, which will be returning the number, console.log, and I can say sum of 1 and 1, which will give me some result. See, this is a fat arrow and answer is 2. Answer is what? 2. So here you can say like this, sum of two numbers is this, sum of two numbers is this, and sum of two numbers is 2. Getting that? So these are nothing but what? Lambda representation. I'll write a wrapper function here and call it as about fns, about functions, sorry. And let's take all these things inside. Yeah. So when you call fns, you will get output related to fns. Just I'll write that. So whenever you practice, just call strings function. Whenever you practice, just call strings function. Whenever you practice, just call let var const function, right? And here you can just call fns function. Okay, you can call this fns function and you will get the output. So what I will do, I will add code to the GitHub JS shorts, and in this shorts what we have learned is ES6 features. Which features we have learned? Let, under the ES6, let const strings and arrows. Okay, we have learnt this thing. I have pushed the code, please check it. Check it in the 2 minutes. Yeah, here JS shorts 1. Inside that we have learned this thing.
Sir, I have to ask one silly question over here. How the scope of engine works here? Like we are using, like we are creating one more file as a car2.js.
No, what did you say?
How the scope of engine will work here?
This engine.
Yes.
So this
So
engine, if you
yeah,
comment this out, this engine is private to this file only,
right.
right? And that's in the Node.js I am talking about, not in the browser. Forget about the browser.
Okay.
We are learning the
Okay.
Node.js.
Okay.
In the browser, terminology is different. But we are not in the browser right now. That's why we are in the typical Node environment. And that's why this engine is private to this file.
Right.
And
And we are
ex-
after exporting, we are importing it into the car.js, right?
yeah, car.js.
Basically, we have one car which is using engine.
Correct.
And what if we have a second car and which is using the same engine, and I'm turning on the first car. So does it affect to the car too, or how the scope of engine will
So you mean
work
to
here?
say, let's have car1 here. Okay.
Right.
Let's have a car1 here, and car1 dot turn on the engine. Car1 dot turn on engine. Let's have where car2 here. What do you think? What will happen? Require two separate instances has been clearly created, right? Car2.
Right.
What we will write? Now here we will write one function, module dot exports dot print engine.
Yeah,
Print
that's what I was expecting.
engine. And here we can write one lambda straight away, one function you can write console.log. See, instead of defining there, I straight have defined here an engine, print engine, correct?
Right.
Now go here and car1 dot print engine and car2 dot print engine. And here I can say, here I will not turn on it.
Right.
Okay. What do you think? What would be the output? Node app dot. Okay, where is that module object printed? Just comment it out. Just comment this CR. So we'll get our concerned output only. Okay, it is printing 3 times somewhere. But where is the engine? That hasn't been printed. console.log engine. Okay, this engine. App.js car2.print engine. Spelling is correct. Print engine. Print engine. Print engine. What's happening? Okay. So here you have car 1, here you have car 2. After the turn on, that is correct. Means if I comment it out, it will give me these two things. That is absolutely correct. Okay. But print engine. But the moment I add this, why it is not printing the engine? Okay. Don't worry about that engine. Apply breaks. Okay, just remove this print engine. Just a moment. So if you do like this, where car 1 require, where car 2 require, but the object you are pointing by means of this require and this require is nothing but this module.exports object.
Right.
Correct? And that reference is not changing. So no matter this car 2 is there or car 1 is there, they will point to the same object. And if you want to do in that way, there is one code, right? Every time if you want to get new object, you need to write the code in that way. You need to create a new reference each and every time by means of one function. You can do that as well. But
okay, and what if I created the car2.js and input in
then separate object.
Okay. So it will not affect if I make engine on from the car one.
No,
So
that will not affect. But
okay,
here this require is returning you all the time same object, same exports object, right? And when this is going to be happen, when your Node.js is going to get loaded, at that time these things are going to happen. So this object is going to get prepared at that time. So this would be getting stored in a global state, or this in the exports object, this would be getting stored. So no matter how many times you will do, you will get a same reference.
Okay, got it, sir.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, just a moment. Your query is solved, right?
Yes, sir.
question.
Yes, please.
Suppose the after so we are specifying the directory after require dot slash backward slash car.
Mm-hmm.
If the file is not at same location, then how will point that file?
Just a moment. Can you say, ask that again?
So if the
I think, sir,
car,
he's trying to say, like, what if the car.js present in different folder or different location?
Okay, so in that way, you need to give that path over here, right? Here you need to presently it's in the current directory. Getting
okay,
that? You need to provide path over here. If you provide path, that would work in the same way.
okay,
This is the path. Remember that dot is a current directory,
yes,
so you
yes,
can provide complete path over here.
okay.
Okay, Pradeep, if you want, what you can say, separate object each time, right? So you should return the function over here. You should do that logic in a function. Means you can, if you write like this, what it does, whenever you first, what you can say, import it, right? Whenever you first import it, or whenever the load time, at that time only, your this will work, require will work. Other, for the first, what I mean to say, for the first require only, it will run the initialization code. For the second require, it won't, right? And if you want to do that, you need to return this object every time. You need to return this engine object every time from any of the function. You can do like this: new object every time, module dot exports dot new engine. This would be function, remember that. It won't be normal object, and from here you can return engine object every time. Getting that? If you want to do like that, so this should be your code if you want to return new engine every time. Correct?
Okay, so it will be a empty object, right?
Not empty. You
Okay.
can keep it empty right now, but there can be keys, no problem. RPM, say 20.
And or shall I pass directly a engine, which is we have
No,
imported at.
if you pass this engine, this is the same, right?
Oh, got it. Yes,
Every
yes,
time
yes.
new object we would be requiring.
Okay. Yep, 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 yep. Got it, sir.
Okay. Anyone is having any query? If you have any query, please ask me. Otherwise, we should move ahead. Now we should move ahead with brand new topic. What are the different built-in modules? So we have worked with the JS shorts, right? Now what are the different built-in modules? Node.js, just go to the Google. Node.js built-in modules. There are many. Node.js will give you many built-in modules. Well, this is not. Crypto is one of the module. See, for the cryptographic thing you can use the crypto, and if you just scroll here, HTTP is one of the built-in module. You can work with the HTTP, right? HTTP request you can create. Then OS is one of the module, right? OS is one of the, can you see const OS require OS, and you can write that. Then file handling, let's see the file handling module. Can you see these are the built-in modules? Whenever you install NodeJS, all these modules will come along with that. All these modules will come along with that. If you see this is a file system module, FS module. If you see file system, if you want to use import star fs as fs like that, or require fs, you will get, see here, common JS, const fs, require fs, something like that, right? Fs is which module? File system module. They have written. If you want to see the code of the fs, just go through the code, and here you can see the code. If you are willing to contribute to this code, you can contribute it, no problem, right? And see this for the file system. Can you see module.export is equals to fs is equals to, see how they have exported module.export fs. So they just have given name of as a variable fs, then complete object, see, and they have written many properties over here inside that. Okay, so this is about what you can say file system module. So let's try to create and delete the files. Okay, so here I can say built-in module, built in module fs.js. Which module we are studying? There are many modules. Now we are just talking about these built-in modules. Even there are third-party modules are also available, that we will see in a moment. Still I haven't started how to create the node project and other things. We are just understanding the node environment, how exactly node is working, what exactly node is, right? We just have created simple app.js, right? Basics about JavaScript we have done. Then we have used one more module called as readline module for getting input from the user, right? And in the day 2 we have discussed what are the modules in the NodeJS, what are the modules in the NodeJS, and that modules we are going to study now. Another module is a file system module. So when you talk about file system module, when you talk about okay, so when you talk about file system module, remember that you are talking about reading and writing data to the file, reading and writing data to the file. Okay, reading and writing data to the file. Now how do you do that? Remember that you would be requiring the fs module first. You would be requiring which module? Fs module. Let's try to do that. Const fs is equals to require, sorry, which module? FS module. Name of the module is FS, file system. Okay. Now in a file system, what exactly you need to do? If you want to read the file, how do you do that? If you want to write the file, how do you do that? That things we are going to see. Now if you want to read the file, remember that first you are requiring the FS module. I have said const FS is equals to this FS. Okay. Now under the day2, I'll create a new file, and here I can say my.txt, right? My.txt. Let's get some data. I just copy this and paste it over here, and paste it over here. So here you can say fs dot read file, fs dot read file, and you need to provide path, and name of the file. Remember that we are in the day2 folder. In the day2 folder, if you want to refer to the current directory, my.txt. And second is the lambda, right? Second is what? Lambda, which says that you have successfully read the file or there is a failure. So first parameter is error. If there is any error, you can get the error, and file data is this. Okay, so you can go here, console.log dt, console.log what? dt. Now just go here and see NodeJS, node. Can you see you have read the data like this? You have read the data in the form of buffer, or this your my.txt is there, correct? And here you are getting the bytes which are written inside file. You are getting what? Bytes which are written inside file. Okay. Now I'll tell you how to convert bytes to the readable form. If there is an error, straight away, or you can say from here you are checking if error object is active, right? Just throw the error. Throw what? The error. Whatever error you get, you can throw that error. So remember that this is exception handling in JavaScript. How exception handling works, I'll explain that thing. But that's a part of what you can say a JavaScript. You catch the exception, you throw the exception. You catch the exception, you throw the exception in this way. Now throw ERR if you see this. Otherwise, remember that if exception has been thrown from this line, your if loop has been executed and exception has been thrown, it will not go to this line. So your execution will end at this line. There is an error and you are throwing the error, the one who is calling it, you will throw error from here by saying that there is an error, I found the error, you have called me. Who this program has called? The read file function. And if read file function gets the error, right, or more precisely, if this function gets the error, right, read file function should be notified, and from here throw error, you are notifying to the read file function that I have received the error. Remember that first parameter you are telling name of the function, sorry, name of the file. Second parameter is callback function. Remember that. First parameter is name of the file. Second parameter is callback function. After reading completes successfully, after this read completes successfully, this function would be getting invoked. What I'm saying, after reading this file successfully, this function would be getting executed. This function would be getting executed. That's why this is the callback function. This function is not going to be executed immediately, but whenever read would be getting completed, after some time this function would be getting executed, right? So it is absolutely necessary to tell the caller function that I have received the error. So you can throw the error like this. So whenever there is a error object, you will find you need to check if error object is defined. Remember that if error object is what defined, means error object has some value, then you need to throw the error. If error object has some value, you need to throw the error, right? If error object is undefined, it will not enter in this if loop, it will go here straight away, right? And it will print like this. So how to convert that data into string, I'll tell you. But any question on this?
So we have called the fs function required fs. So it will directly call the inbuilt function.
This line you are saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because normally what we do, we, as you said, module.exports. In this case, we just require fs as this is inbuilt function.
No, just moment. Can you say that again?
So fs is inbuilt function, so we don't need to.
Just moment. This fs is a built-in module. This fs, which fs? This fs is
Okay.
built-in module. Built-in module. Well, this can be anything, whatever you wanna put. That is
Yeah, I was talking about the require fs only.
This can be anything. So this variable can be anything.
Okay.
Right, which will work. See. So this is a built-in module. You cannot write anything over here. Remember that. So you are asking to the node, please give me a built-in module called as fs. That name should be fixed. But this name can be anything. Okay?
Okay.
So basically, behind the scene, they wrote one file and they exported the fs module.
Correct.
With the multiple functions.
Yes,
inside,
correct.
right?
And we are importing that.
Okay. Likewise, we have done it for the engine and car.
Correct.
Earlier.
Correct.
Okay. Clear, sir.
Clear? Anyone is having any query?
No.
Okay. Okay. Now remember that it is returning the byte buffer, right? Because it reads the bytes only from the disk, whatever the file is. Irrespective of the file, it reads what bytes. And it's a good way to maintain the data or read and write the bytes rather than typical file formats, right? So if you want to get typical, what you can say, format of the file, you need to provide encoding UTF-8. UTF-8. It's a Unicode transmission format. Now let me run it. Can you see? You can get the data. UTF, Unicode Transmission Format. So you just need to specify this thing and it will give you the things. But whenever you want to transfer it, or whenever you want to transfer it over the wire, make sure that you will, most of the time you would be using the byte buffer, right? But if you want to see, you can use this UTF-8. Okay, you can use what, this UTF-8. Similarly, there is a write function also, but make sure that you got the idea of file handling. So let me make it proper fs here. That name can be absolutely anything, don't worry about that. Proper fs here. Okay, now you can read and write by means of two ways. This is asynchronous way of reading and writing. This is what? Asynchronous way of reading typically, because you are passing the callback function. You are passing what? Callback function. And you are saying here is that I am going to, your read file is function is saying, is talking to you like this. Give me the name of the file, my.txt, and give me the callback function. Remember that I will start reading the my.txt file. And once it gets completed, and once reading gets completed, I am going to call this callback function, and I will inform you that my reading has been completed by calling this function. Remember that this is a lambda. You can write normal function also, but this is right now it is what? Lambda. So callback function takes two parameters, error and data. So here you are saying if error is active, means file name is wrong, like this, and let's try to run the project. There is no file with that name. Can you see? No such file or directory. Error has been caught and it is throwing the error. No such file or directory. I'm not able to open my tent, whatever, this file name, right? Means you have catched over here and thrown the over here. You have given error to whom? This read file, right? Internally you can say read file has given you the error, but internally which line has given the error? This callback function has given the error that I am not getting this file, right? So my.txt here, and see this, and now this is working. Now what we are discussing, you can read and write by means of two ways, synchronously and asynchronously. I'll show you. fs dot read file sync. Now you just need to provide what you can say to the read file sync. You just need to provide my.txt, right? My.txt, and it will straight away give you this read file sync, will give you synchronous way, means it will wait until complete file has read. Const dt is equals to, and console.log dt. See again, here you are getting, can you see it? So this is your expected output is, and this is coming from that callback function. Remember that first this has been called and then this has been called. If your file is NodeJS, here we can say your file is too big, my.txt, it will take little time to load it. So still it is too much faster. But difference between this and difference between this is that this is a asynchronous call. In the future you will get the result, right? But this says that until I complete the reading, of the file, I'm going to block the call. This line won't be getting executed, won't execute until read operation completes. Are you getting that, what I mean to say? Hello?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'm getting some problem with the, can you see my screen? It is fluctuating.
No.
Yeah, it's
Fluctuating.
flexible.
Just a moment. I need to reconnect, I think. I need to restart the system and I will reconnect. Hello?
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Or we can continue tomorrow itself, no problem. If you have any.
Okay, sure, sir.
Fine. So till then, please practice this much code, all of you.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Sir, I have one question.
Yeah.
So in readfs function, in first code you have provided the UTF format,
Correct.
but in second you haven't wrote that for